to Siwa isn't going to be able to pull off anything. We are very excited. We have our friend Giano Caldwell here. I know him from my Fox News days. He has a new book called The Day My Brother Was Murdered: My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis. He's the founder of the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety, and he's also a dear friend. Very excited to talk about his book and also just some news of the day. We also just want to thank you all so much for all your love and comments and support for the Usha Vance interview. It is officially our most watched video we've ever put on YouTube. We're very excited. And honestly, the amount of positive comments we have gotten has just been really overwhelming and wonderful. But first, Miranda, before we get to Giano, I have something extremely important to talk to you about.
Oh,
So,
yay.
I this weekend was getting tons of text messages and messaging with you about the Jeff Bezos Lauren Sanchez wedding. And really quick, I just want to, before we get into the details of this, I want to show picture number 8, please, because this is important for our audience. Can you see? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this is Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos, their official photo. So I don't know if we can zoom in. We maybe can't, but I need you to look at this carpet and those chairs, because this carpet looks like the carpet of like my neighbor's basement where our kids play. Yeah. Thank you so much for zooming in.
Thank
It's important to
you.
me. I appreciate it. I don't understand if
It's
you
giving
have.
staples.
Yes,
Like,
staples. I don't understand if you have $50 million to spend on a wedding, and this is where we land with that chair, that bouquet, and a carpet that looks like I picked it up at Home Depot on the way home. Um, Miranda,
the
I said
chair.
I said to a friend today that we can't negate why socialism's popularity is on the rise when people are spending $50 million on weddings like this and the most like egregious over the top displays of gratuitous wealth like ever. And the era of, I guess, quiet luxury is gone. Oh, just for an FYI, her dress took over 900 hours to complete and was designed by Dolce and Gabbana. The couple did ask guests to make charitable gifts to the city of Venice cultural heritage. They got married in Venice, Italy, and the people were not happy. What was your takeaway on all of this?
Oh boy. Those chairs look like they belonged on the patio of some like Studio City restaurant. Like they did not look like Italian wedding chairs for a billionaire. My one of my biggest takeaways was, wow, he's only marrying someone 5 years younger than him. There's only a 5 year age gap between them, which quite frankly was the most shocking thing of all. He could have married like a 22-year-old blow-up doll. And
Mm-hmm.
instead, he married a 55-year-old blow-up doll. So there is that. Um, and so props to him. Why is Sydney Sweeney at their wedding?
I
What,
know.
like, do they not have friends in their lives that they just had to close their eyes and just pick random people off IMDb to invite? It was very strange, the guest list. Like, I know that Lauren Sanchez is friends with the Kardashians. Seeing them there wasn't a surprise. Um, but Sydney Sweeney, that was a weird one.
It was like the Kardashians, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Orlando
Um,
Bloom, when Katy Perry is the one that went to space with Lauren Sanchez, but they're going through their divorce or whatever. So,
and then Oprah and Gail, because God forbid Oprah and Gail are not present at every single thing that has ever happened. I gotta tell you, I used to really like Gail King. I thought I don't know, I just liked her commentary and I thought she was interesting. And I cannot tell you how much I don't like Gail King now. I just
yeah,
think she's like the most elitist, like sort of out of touch. Calling herself an astronaut is deeply insulting to people who have gone to astronaut school and work at NASA.
this astronaut thing is, they're never going to outrun these astronaut
But I
stories.
I agree
Like,
with what you're saying. Like, it reminded me of like Meghan Markle's wedding when there was like, why is George Clooney here? Like, why are the Beckhams here?
yeah,
Like, are they friends with them? Like, they just sort of invite celebrities to show that you can. And what's so weird to me is like, if I had $50 million to spend on a wedding, first of all, I would never spend $50 million on a wedding. It's just not. It seems just like again like a gratuitous waste of money. Even if I could, I wouldn't. I swear, I would not. I do not have $50 million to spend on anything. I don't have $50 million. But the thing I don't understand is in this era again where there's a mayoral candidate, and we're going to get into this, whose entire message is like socialism is the best. And he literally said in an interview this weekend, I do not believe billionaires should exist. There is a definite populist uprising happening on the left that we should pay very close attention to in the same way that we've always paid very close attention to the populist uprising happening here on the right, or on my side on the right. The thing I don't understand is if we're in this moment in particular where there is just a lot of anger about billionaires from the perception of this side not paying their fair share in taxes, not giving back the way they should, sort of bucking the system. I'm gonna mess this up, but I think it's like a family of five that makes over $300,000 a year pays the same amount of taxes as a Jeff Bezos. Like there's definite like tax thresholds that they can skirt and hide from. And again, I'm not like an anti-billionaire person. We're gonna get into this, but it's just weird to me in this moment that you're like, screw it. I'm gonna have the most ridiculous, gaudy, over the top, celebrity filled wedding in a city that I have no relationship to, that I have no like memory of, I'm not from, and we're gonna like screw up this city for a period of time and then show the entire world how much money we have and how much money you don't. And my favorite thing was seeing on social media all the private planes. It was like over 100 private planes flying into Venice and flying out. And I'm so conscious of, and I'm not like, I just am aware of my privilege in the sense that like, I don't have to worry about paying for groceries. My husband and I are both gainfully employed. I don't have to worry about paying for insurance. Like I come from a place of privilege, but I'm always very cogent about like the things I do and say. So I don't understand why Jeff Bezos isn't more concerned about that. And my final thing I want to ask you, I'm not forgetting when we covered the story of the Amazon workers having to urinate in bottles of water, like water
Hmm.
bottles, on their conveyor belt and not getting breaks and sleeping in tents outside their Amazon factories because they didn't have time to go home and come back because they weren't getting breaks. So, like, at the same time, you're not paying your workers probably a fair wage and they're having to urinate in water bottles on while working at your facilities. Like, then you're going to throw this wedding?
Yeah, they're on timers because if they don't meet their quotas, they get docked or, they miss certain perks and then they get in trouble and they get eventually fired if they don't meet their quotas of, 200 units an hour or whatever. So they're, using jugs at their stations to go to the bathroom. But, Jeff Bezos has all the time in the world to fly a helicopter from his billion-dollar wedding to his $500 million super yacht parked outside of Venice in the canals. It's crazy.
He
Um,
also, I don't know if you saw, they had a foam party on their yacht like the day before they got married, which I didn't even know
People
foam
were
parties.
pissed.
Well, and
Yeah.
also just again, geopolitically, you are within a few hundred miles of where bombs are being dropped, like, or maybe, excuse me, a few thousand miles of where bombs are being dropped. And it's like, there's just no social awareness, no like awareness of what's going on culturally, socially, what's going on in the world. Like, I just I don't know. It's just a recipe for why socialism is on the rise.
Also,
Because if
like
you don't, God,
50-year-olds having foam parties is kind
I
of
know,
weird.
I know,
Like
it's
just
disgusting.
that's an aside, but yeah.
And I
I
want to
thought
just
I thought
preface,
college kids did that.
I'm not mad at rich people, like especially people who've like made their own way and like created things that we all need. And like me personally, I love Amazon Prime, especially if you have kids. Like sometimes you need that toy, you need that like children's Tylenol, you need whatever. Like I'm not anti Amazon. I just don't think I understand the optics of throwing a wedding like this in this specific moment in time. Not understanding again where so many people's anger is just blooming and blooming and blooming and getting bigger and bigger, and they're coming for specifically Jeff Bezos. So
Hmm.
I don't know. And again, I also think that just on like on a just taste level, I got married here in Sedona when I got married because this is where I'm from and it's where I love. You got married in California because where you're from and where you love. I don't understand why you're just like, I'm gonna get married in Venice for no reason at all except to show that I can literally shut the goddamn city of Venice down because I have so much money. It just seems impersonal and tacky and all that money and no taste. All that money and no taste.
It's interesting to me that Leonardo DiCaprio, who's such like a climate warrior,
I know.
and would participate in this. It's interesting to me. So is this all cosplay? Is this not real? Because he seemed like a real one. And maybe he's not.
I mean, he's on his yachts too, yelling at everybody about climate change and things. But he's always
Fair,
on his yachts every
fair
every
point.
summer.
Yeah.
Anyway, Will, it was just an interesting, like I said, like pop culture point that was just popping up everywhere on my social media. And
Hmm.
like I said, I'm just really disappointed. There's so many good rich people, good billionaires who like give back to their. I actually just heard something, by the way, because again, I'm here in Phoenix. Brett Michaels apparently has an entire wing in the Phoenix Children's Hospital.
Oh,
Unlike again, Brett Michaels, the rock star, and I'm maybe again butchering this, but he has like some part of a hospital to help stroke victims, and and maybe just Phoenix Hospital, excuse me. And it's like there's lots of people who give back in so many different ways, and I'm sure Jeff Bezos does to a point. But you're spending $50 million on a wedding right now. on your second wedding and her fourth wedding, I believe. Like, come on, you guys. Come on. Or third
Wow.
wedding. I don't know. Who gives a shit? Anyway, all right, we're gonna move on. We have our first, again, only guest today, Giano Caldwell. We're excited. He is the author of the new book, The Day My Brother Was Murdered: My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis. He's founder of the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety, and he's also a Fox News political analyst. We have at number one, Giano's book. Can we show the cover really quick? Giano, we're so happy to be speaking with you today. I just want to put number one up so everyone can see. There it is. Congratulations on your book. This is obviously a very intense, heartfelt, dark story. Can you just, before we get into news of the day, can you just tell me why you wanted to write this book? Um, what message you want people to take away from it? And look, I can only imagine when I heard the news of the tragic murder of your brother, how difficult it would be to write a book like this, how you could get yourself together enough just emotionally to write about such a tragedy.
Well, first and foremost, Megan, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's such an honor, and you're someone that I respect highly and have for years. So it's
Thank
always
you.
good to
Me
be with you,
too.
my friend. No,
Mm.
sincerely. On June 24th, 2022, my life changed forever when my innocent teenage baby brother Christian was murdered in Chicago. And since then, I have been out for justice, not just for him, but for many families across the country. And that's when I started the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety at caldwellinstitute.org. Please support our efforts as we go after George Soros funded progressive prosecutors that are soft on crime. I wrote this book, The Day My Brother Was Murdered, My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis, because I realized on that very day that my brother was murdered, so was 150 people across the nation. I wanted to highlight some of those tragic stories as well. And I talk about people like James from Philadelphia, an Army veteran who had PTSD and would often have to go to a park at night at 1 or 2 in the morning because he couldn't sleep. On June 24th, he went to the same park that he would go to every week, and he saw some teenagers as well as some kids that were younger than teenage. And he said, "What are you all doing here? You should be at home." And they beat him to death with a traffic cone.
God.
Or Catherine. Catherine was from Texas, wife, mother, grandmother, 64 years old, a chemical engineer, heading home on June 24th when she was struck by a bullet on the highway because a drug deal had went bad. And there's so many stories in this book, families that I wanted to cover, families that deserve the spotlight. Way too many that I could cover in this actual book. But I put these stories together because I want people to know across the nation what's going on in our cities. Every race in here is covered, every from young as 6 months old to as old as 70 years old in this book. I also talk to people like Sean Hannity about solutions. John Walsh from America's Most Wanted, Dr. Drew about the mental health crisis and how it contributes to violence. I spoke to faith leaders, educators, because it's necessary for us to get beyond just how bad it is to getting to let's get the solutions, let's do something about it, and let's reverse course in this country so other people don't have the same experiences that my family unfortunately has had.
You know, Gianno, I remember when I heard the news of your brother's death and just being obviously completely gutted. We're friends, we've worked together for a long time, and thinking, I don't know how he's going to turn this pain into something positive, but you clearly have. What has the response been for like the Caldwell Institute and this book? Are people coming to you and like volunteering stories, looking for, counseling from you and guidance? Like, is it hard to be a figure now that's attached to, this very intense tragedy?
I think the last statement you just raised, the last piece of it, to be attached to it. And that's one of the things that I was talking to Sean Hannity about, years ago, because it's now been 3 years. And, this isn't something I want to define me, but it's certainly something that I've taken on to further my brother's legacy. And when I started thinking about what I can do, because I've not really grieved per se, because I've been in action mode for 3 years now. I have to do something. I have to make things better, is where my mind has been. I talked to Dr. Drew. I said, how do I alleviate the pain that I'm feeling? How do I get beyond it? And he said, unfortunately, you don't, but you can do something that's going to further your brother's legacy. And the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety was then born. The reception has been really great. A lot of families have reached out asking for our help. As I have went through this tragedy and had to have the experience of dealing with the police, prosecutors, planning a funeral, press, all of those things. I wanted to ensure that people had a place to go that unfortunately had these experiences. So people that we brought onto our advisory board right when we got started, Pam Bondi, who's now obviously the Attorney General, Dr. Drew, Congressman Burgess Owens, and many, many others, prosecutors from all over, former police chiefs, etc. And I asked them to work together with me so we can put together manuals, how to work with the police and the prosecutor directly for them. What is the best case? How do you really move forward to get justice for your family? I wrote a manual, how to get press attention for your family, because that wasn't my issue. I got a lot of it, but there's so many families who deserve that kind of spotlight to get justice for their family, and they don't. They're not able to.
Mm-hmm.
I gave them a platform in which they can do that. How to work through it from a mental health perspective. Dr. Drew wrote a manual on that, and so many other resources on the website. And I encourage people again to go to caldwellinstitute.org and support our efforts there. It is necessary that we as a community, we as a nation stand up and say enough is enough. The left has taken things way too far. They went from the noble idea of criminal justice reform, which I firmly support, to justice for the criminal. This has got to stop. And that's why this book, The Day My Brother Was Murdered, My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis, is so important, because we need to have an established manual of how to move beyond this moment. And that's what I'm hopeful.
Well, it's extremely important, and I really applaud you for turning your pain into this kind of action. And I know there's probably, millions of people you're helping and have helped. And I just want to give a little housekeeping. If you would like to ask Giano a question, please raise your digital hand, and he will be willing to answer any questions that you guys have. Of course, this is an open forum. Giano, I have been thinking a lot about our interview and wanting to talk to you, and it's just ironic that this is happening at the same time that this socialist candidate, Zohan Mamdani, is now the nominee and likely new mayor of New York City. I lived in New York City for like 16 years. I love New York City. I think his election could be a tragedy for many reasons, but I wanted to show you this clip, number 11, please, where he's talking about how violence doesn't really exist. Number 11.
Times we've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction. And we have to be very clear that what is happening here with these district attorneys, that is violence. That is violence of the highest degree.
Giano, neither of us are naive. I know there's a difference between stealing a package
Yes.
and murdering someone or stabbing someone. No one is saying it's the same thing. But the thing I don't like about this is the downplaying of violent action, saying it like it's not something that really happens. Are you concerned about this platform? And what would you say to him if he was sitting in front of you right now?
If I was in front of him, I would tell him exactly that what he said is a slap in the face to every family that had to have the same exact experience as mine, or even some who almost were attempted murder. The fact that violent crime has been an issue in New York City, if you look at the numbers, violent assault up, you look robberies up, so many areas and categories that crime is up in New York City. And if that's the platform in which he's trying to speak from, this imaginary violent crime doesn't exist, it's a construct. Clearly he's not ready for the big time. Clearly he's not ready to take care of millions of people who would be dependent upon his leadership in order to feel safe and live their daily lives. And then there's other areas in which he said, just, to me, I think is asinine, is bizarre, is crazy. Oh, we need to get rid of jails. What?
Yeah.
We need to defund the police. Well, y'all tried that already. They moved $1 billion out of the New York City's police department budget. And what happened to it? Violence, chaos, murder, and death. And that's what often happens. We used to talk about, as conservatives, this, 10, 20, probably longer than that, years ago, it was about abortion and taxes. Those were the big two considerations of any conversation when it came to the differences in the policies. We all knew that law and order had to be the rule of the day. We knew that immigration had to be legal. We knew that we had to have an economy that worked for everybody, and we wanted to keep taxes, at least conservatives did, low for everyone. But the fact of the matter is that the left has gone so far and so crazy that the fact that this guy won a Democratic primary in the city of New York as a black eye. Matter of fact, two black eyes on the Democratic Party. They're not going to be able to live this kind of stuff down if these are the lunatics that you're putting up.
Well, Giano, the thing that I don't understand is, and again, I try and really approach things like this with as much like open-mindedness as I possibly can, but I just don't understand this. I don't understand why defunding the police, which by the way is a polling disaster for Democrats. It's actually something that like, people like the woman running for governor in Virginia right now, Abigail Spanberger, has openly said hurt chances of Democrats winning. I don't understand the doubling and tripling down of this. Like I literally just cannot even wrap my head around the idea that defunding the police is something anyone thinks is rational. I guess he is part of the thought process that he thinks that social workers should be in charge. And again, if someone's breaking in my house and trying to rape me, I would like a cop to show up. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
FYI. So what do you think it is? Because it's something we're sitting here, we see clearly, we think this is wrong and dangerous, but it's extremely popular on the right, or excuse me, on the left. Do you have any possible explanation for that? Because I've really been struggling with trying to understand this.
Well, for the last several years, the very far left, super progressive candidates, activists, those are the ones that have been getting the attention, the AOCs of the world. So if you can get the attention, and that's what a lot of them are looking for, why would you push back on what you've been saying? Because you're getting the attention from the very people you want it from. They're not trying to win conservatives. They don't care about that. They're trying to win more and more of their people. And that's the unfortunate reality. We saw in the 2024 election. What did people say? They wanted strong borders. They wanted it closed. They wanted to see people deported. They wanted a strong economy. They wanted safety. Those were major issues. They didn't want to have their biological girls competing against biological boys in any sport. That's what they wanted. That's what the American people voted for. And what did they do? They kept pushing it. The left kept pushing it, pushing it, pushing it all the way up and through election. And then after the election, they said, well, maybe we made a mistake. But then they picked it back up and said, you know what? We're going to run back with these things. And I'm not sure if they're looking to lose more elections, or maybe they want just to win these very local areas like New York City, far left place, or Los Angeles, far left place, or California, which has a little bit of a balance to it when you look at the rest of the state. But maybe that's the intention behind it. Because what George Soros did is he invested in over 75, I call them political prosecutors, who won many races across the country, and they began to make incremental changes, which then became national in so many other places. So maybe that's a part of it. If you can change locally, then you can do it in the rest of the country, because there have been examples of it being successful.
Like I said, I think this is toxic, but I also think that in the same way that anywhere you and I go, Giano, I own everything that's happening on the right. And I want every Democrat in the country, you own this. You own defunding the police. You own globalize the intifada. You own socialism's amazing. And we want to tax everybody 60%. I also think it's worth noting that Zohan Mamdani did incredibly well with white, wealthy people,
Yeah.
and not nearly as well with African-American voters, Hispanic voters, South Asian voters, basically any other demographic, unless you're a white liberal living in Brooklyn. He did not succeed as well with. Really quickly, Gianna, we have a question from Ray for you. Ray, where are you? We'd love to talk to you. Hi, Ray. How are you? What is your question?
I
And
want
it's
to make
nice to
sure that
see
I'm
you. He's asked questions before.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
First of all, Giano, I want to express my heartfelt condolences to what happened to your brother. That should never happen
Thank you.
to anybody. It's an obviously terrible thing. I got a few points about New York and Mamdani that would be interesting to hear your reactions to. I got two or three of them. Like any journalist, I write things down so I don't mess it up. I actually think Mamdani's election in New York is the best thing that's ever happened to the Democratic Party. It's going to force them to confront a number of issues they've so far been reluctant to confront. For example, the party drifting way too far left. And they got to confront that. Otherwise, I think everybody's correct. They're going to lose more elections. And I've heard over and over again that Democrats own Mamdani's win right now in this potential election. How in the world do Democrats own that as a whole, just as Republicans as a whole don't own Donald Trump going back on his word and trying to deport arresting and deporting people who are in the country trying to get legal status. Their asylum is in process and such. He originally said, "I'm just going to arrest and deport criminals." He's gone well beyond that. I don't see Republicans on it. And the third thing is, I'll always remember what Dave Chappelle said on Saturday Night Live when the country was going crazy about Donald Trump's first election. You got to give the guy a chance. Like him or not, you got to give him a chance. Why doesn't Mamdani get the same grace?
Well, I'll tell you the reason why the left owns it is because they clearly have said many, many times before that that's not their party, but it continues to be their party. So if they're not all coming out saying, look, we don't support this, which some Democrats in fairness have said, you know what, this maybe not be our cup of tea. So I can appreciate that. But for the most part, we don't see any mainstream Democrats saying this guy can't win. This guy shouldn't be the leader of their party. He should not be running New York City. So with that consideration in mind, I would say that they absolutely own it. These have been policies that many of them have been in favor of on the national level. This is their policy platform now, regardless. Now, when it comes to Donald Trump, there's some Republicans that disagree with Donald Trump. Some Republicans don't support Donald Trump or vote for him, and they're vocal about that. Megan, I know you for many years have said things about Trump and what you may not like or what you might like, and you've been fair in your application of it. I've seen it. So with that consideration in mind, you need to have Democrats that are willing to speak up and say, you know what? No, we're not going to vote for this. No, we're not going to defund the police. No, we're not going to get rid of jails. No, we're not going to be put in a position where we have government-ran grocery stores. To Megan's earlier point, he is not for the folks he claims to support and the policies that would be applicable to them. People making $50,000 and less rejected him by 20 points. African Americans and Hispanics rejected him. His message does not resonate and it does not work. People don't see it as sensible. Well, some do, obviously, the white liberal elite that did support him. But I'm wondering if New York City, the many Jewish friends that I have there, I'm wondering if they're going to come out and say enough is enough. Although we know Jewish folks have been voting for Democrats almost at the same level as African Americans for many years, except for after October 7th. That's when things begin to change a bit. So we'll see what happens. I'm not like I believe there's a chance he obviously can win. I'm not sure that he will 100% win, but it's going to be up to the Democrats in New York City to make that determination.
Yeah, I have a few things, Ray, to say too, and then I want to show everyone a clip. I think why this is different for me is that he is a Nepo baby, and I say this as a Nepo baby. We can recognize each other. His mother is a very famous director. She directed Disney movies. She directed this actually really beautiful movie called The Namesake about Indian immigrants coming to the United States. He lives in a $2 million apartment in Chelsea. He has a cushion in the same way that I have a cushion. When you have successful parents, there are floor. I actually just heard Allison Williams, Brian Williams' daughter, talking about this. It's different for Nepo babies because there's a floor you can't fall beneath that someone making $50,000 living on the poverty line in an unsafe neighborhood can. He can pay. People like me can pay to be insulated. You don't have to have, it's okay to defund the police because some of these people can pay for private security. So I don't understand the logic of an immigrant coming to this country, having wildly successful parents. His father is an academician and works at Columbia University, making, again, what I can only imagine is millions and millions of dollars if you're affording a $2 million apartment. And then at the same time, turning around and saying everything that helped me come to America and be a success is garbage. And I actually think we should be a lot more like, you know, a third world autocracy. I just don't understand the reasoning behind it. My other problem is, like Giano was just saying, so much of this is for white liberals. When you actually get and talk to people, again, who are not, or I should just say wealthy people, they're not buying it. Like I said, 20% is a really huge number to be losing by. And I don't know. I have very serious questions about a party that is comfortable with a candidate okaying, and we can show this clip if you want. Actually, we should. Refusing to disavow the words globalize the intifada, which is an international call for violence against Jewish people. In fact, let's show that clip really quick for everyone. Number 3.
You condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada.
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard those fears, and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%.
So I just want to ask everybody on the call, including Miranda, if I was having a conversation and someone said, Megan, what do you think of X, Y, and Z racial slur? And my answer was, I don't use that kind of language, but it's okay if other people do. You'd probably think I was, a gross person. So can I ask Giano, you to respond, and then you, Ray, what do you make of this clip? Because he's not disavowing it. He's not saying, that we have no place for this.
Dancing around the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So take him out and insert Donald Trump, and let Donald Trump have responded like that, and imagine what they would have said on the left. Why is it I haven't heard people say what he said was wrong? He should say this is not okay. People shouldn't be doing this. Why is it that he can't speak clearly and articulate to an audience that is his own very voters in New York City, the Jewish people who had to go to school, hopefully safely, but haven't been for over a year? Say that to them. So I tell you that the left should be speaking out loudly and clearly about that, but they're not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ray, anything you want to add?
Kamala Harris answer, really bad.
As a Kamala Harris answer.
That's actually good.
I would like to show you guys. I would like to show you guys one more clip, if you don't mind, about the direction of the Democratic Party. I love Harry Enton. He's one of the few people I like at CNN because I just think he's really entertaining and has great polls. He has a clip talking about how this actually is what Democrats want. Number 5, please.
What should they take away is that the party leaders, Democrats who say they want to replace their party leaders, look at this, 62% nationally say yes compared to just 24% who say no. That lines up with the idea that Democrats view their own members of Congress, their own leaders in Congress, record low approval rating. Democrats right now are out for blood. They want to take out their party leaders. And you saw that with Andrew Cuomo going, adios amigos, goodbye, see you later in New York this past Tuesday.
So I think we can't underplay that Andrew Cuomo was a uniquely horrible candidate and had many flaws and, is a gross person on many levels, and I believe is responsible for the death of many old people, including our friend Janice Dean's mother and father-in-law. But I also think that I actually think this is the modern Democratic Party. I actually think Zohan Mamdani is who, at least my statement that I said about this last week was, at least it's honest. At least he's being honest. He's not trying to cover up who he is. He's a socialist, radical extremist. And I actually think this is the direction Democrats are going. What do you think, Giano?
Well, I do. I completely agree with you. But the thing is though they obviously have very terrible approval ratings, whether it be in Congress or the party in and of itself, they're drifting further and further away from the people in the middle, the independents, and then the somewhat moderate Democrats, if there's many of them left, which I don't believe at this point that there are. So where does that leave them? Republicans better take advantage of this moment. If this guy actually does become mayor of New York City, he will be the greatest realtor that they've ever had, because you're going to find many more people moving to Florida, moving to Texas, like we did in 2021 and between I think 2021 and 2023, they lost about $17 billion in tax revenue. We're going to see even more of that money drifting away from New York City, and a city that used to be what people consider to be the greatest city in America is no longer.
Mm-hmm. Ray, anything you want to add?
One person's election is not a bellwether for the entire party, and besides, I don't think he's going to win.
You don't? Both of you are now maybe changing my mind that he might not win. I want to ask one final question for you, Ray and Giano, on this note. If the DNC rolls around in 2028 and Zohan does win and he becomes, I believe, a featured speaker at the convention, and he has a Palestine flag and he's saying globalize the intifada, how do you think the rest of the country is going to respond to that? Do you think they're going to be like, yes, this is a message I can get behind? Or do you think they're going to be scared about the future of the party?
I think people are scared about the future of the party already. I don't. We saw what happened in 2024 with the last election. Republicans are now winning more African Americans than we have in a very, very long time. Hispanic voters, Asians, and many other groups are now coming over to the Republican side, not necessarily because they just love Donald Trump. Some of them love their policies, some of them didn't like his personality, but because he, to many Americans, seemed like the most sane person running. And that's where we
Mm-hmm.
are.
Mm-hmm. Ray and Miranda.
My goodness, if that happens, the Democrats do not deserve to win another election for the rest of my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be complete. They're already a mess. The Democratic Party is already a mess. I can't see for a second that they would do something that completely stupid.
Okay, Miranda.
Mamdani is like if they took TikTok, like anything that liberals say on TikTok about what they want or what they would like to see in a candidate, defund the police, no rent, and all of that, and all the crazy things that they want, fruit punch in the water fountains, and turned it into a human walking candidate, just spouting off these crazy talking points and made it a human. That's what Mamdani is. I really don't think that he can win because he doesn't seem like a serious person. But again, millennials are the new grown-ups. So we'll have to wait and see. But gosh, this is really just the biggest indictment on Cuomo ever.
Mm-hmm.
He has to go far away forever if because of this.
Ray, is there anything else you want to add before we say goodbye? Thank you so much for joining as usual.
Thank you, Ray.
And just a reminder to please raise your digital hand if you want to ask me, Miranda, or Giano any questions. Giano, I want to show you this clip. First of all, where are you living, right? I mean, if you're comfortable.
Miami, Florida.
Okay, so you're not a
The
New Yorker.
safest big city in America, homicide rate as low as the 1950s, which I write about in my new book, The Day My Brother Was Murdered.
Why did you choose Miami?
Well, because I was living in Los Angeles up
Mhm.
into 2 months into the LA shutdown. I just felt like they treated us like prisoners. I couldn't go out. I couldn't do much of anything. So I decided to come to Miami temporarily, and it just became a thing. I was here in 2020, and then 2021 I moved to London. 2022 I came back and I bought a second home in Miami, which is what I'm in now, which has become my primary and only home because LA is unlivable. Things have not gotten better. So it's quite the quagmire, as I thought that, we would live in a free country, but things shifted after COVID everywhere.
I feel very anxious. I live in Virginia right now, but I'm in Arizona at the moment. And I'm always like, my husband and I very seriously considering right now moving back to Arizona for a lot of different reasons. But part of it is like this kind of thing where I learned a lot of lessons in 2020, as I know everyone else did too, that like it is very important who is governing where you live and that you are ideologically aligned. Because again,
Absolutely.
there could be a mayoral race and then you've got no jails. Like people are going to get rid of jails, which is lunacy. I want to show you this clip from the New York Post, Lydia Moynihan, who's talking about all the real estate, agents, including real estate star Ryan Searhant, about the reaction to Mamdani and what it will mean if there's another exodus away from New York. Number 4, please.
New Yorkers are thinking of packing up and getting out already. They call it the Mamdani migration. The New York Post is reporting that real estate agents are getting flooded with phone calls. Luxury real estate agent Ryan Serhant told the Post that his #1 job will be moving people from New York to Florida again. And based on the results, clients are going to hold off on making any kind of investment in New York City. Lydia Moynihan knows all about this. She's a financial correspondent at the Post and broke this story. Lydia, I had a bunch of my friends over the weekend when they saw this coming saying, oh my goodness, I wish I sold last year. This is a nightmare. How could this be happening? So is this Mamdani migration a real thing?
I think it is, and I hate to say that. Look, what's not surprising is it in the wake of him clinching that Democratic nomination that wealthy people, really anyone with sort of a vested interest in the city, was exploring options of where they could move. Florida, of course, is a well-trodden path at this point. But what's much more concerning is the fact that people are actually walking away from deals. So people who were either in process of signing and purchasing an apartment or, potentially buying something in the future, they're walking away. And so for the next 4 months, I think we're going to see a decrease in the investment in New York City. Anyone with a business is going to be a little hesitant. And of course, that's going to be amplified for 4 years if Mamdani is elected.
Thank you. Okay, so I know we have many mutual friends. They're still living in New York City, and friends that work at Fox News are living in New York City, and I just feel bad for them,
Yeah.
Giano. Like, I just can't. There is no job on the planet that could get me to move back to New York City, and I mean nothing. Like
Yeah.
offering me $100 million to host the biggest show on the planet, I cannot live in that city anymore. What are the normal people going to do? What are our friends going to do? Because I literally just do not think I could live in New York City under his mayoralship, which I still think he's going to get elected, but I know you don't.
Well, some of our folks have already moved to Florida. Sean Hannity moved to Florida. That was big news.
Hmm.
Kathy Hochul has said that his tax increase plan is a non-starter, as she doesn't want more people to move to Florida. But the truth of the matter is, your point is something you said earlier that I was kind of scratched my head to because it's true. You said that if you're making $50,000, you're under the like underneath the poverty line. And in New York City, that's so true, but you don't even think about
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. But if you're making the six figures, you can go live in Florida for way cheaper and have a better way of living. You
Hmm.
got no state income tax, you got sunny, you got beaches, and you have actually nice people. And in my case, I didn't know this before because I had never lived in a conservative state ever or city. There's a lot of actual conservatives here, and they're cool people. It's not everything is about politics. And, in New York or in Los Angeles or Chicago, everybody wants to talk about politics all the time. It's not like that. It's like, okay, let's enjoy our time. We can talk business. We can enjoy just being free human being. And when you look at other places around the country, that isn't the case. And you especially saw that during COVID because
Hmm.
people seemingly were really, you can tell if somebody was in town from New York or from Chicago or from some left-leaning area because they walked around with their mask on outside. So,
Yeah.
COVID really did a number on a lot of people, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it made a lot of people's brains break. I
Yeah.
love Ron DeSantis. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a big fan of his. I think what he's done in Florida is spectacular. I know that he's pretty soon going to, he's termed out. Who do you think will be a good replacement for him? Have you gotten a chance to meet Ron DeSantis? And what has it been like living under, the free state of Florida, as everybody says? And I know you're part of that like conservative Florida mafia group of all these Republicans who work in media who moved to Florida, like Dave Rubin and Carol Markowitz. And like, you guys always look like you're having so much fun.
Yeah, Lisa Booth actually lived across the
Lisa
street
Booth,
from me.
yeah.
She's now in Palm Beach, my dear friend. What do I think of Ron DeSantis?
Hmm.
I've never met him personally, but I've often wondered now that I knew that he was turned out, who would be next? Who could fill his shoes? And that was a tough decision because he did such a great job during COVID. He protected us. It felt like this is one of the very real places that America exists, meaning that still exists, that has not been usurped from our values and put in all the progressive liberal stuff. The person that I think is going to make the most sense, who I will be personally supporting, is Byron Donalds. Congressman Byron
Hmm.
Donalds has been very strong. I think that he can not only fit Ron DeSantis' shoes, but he can expand on him. He's a very honest person. He knows his stuff. And as somebody, I consider him a friend. He's somebody that I would feel very comfortable with leading the state for the next 8 years. So I'm hopeful that that's going to be the case. And I think he's the only major candidate that I'm aware of
Me
that
too.
has
Yeah.
said that he was going to run. And of course, he got Trump's endorsement.
He's also very charming and very popular. So there's probably a high likelihood he's going to be your next governor. We have a question from Morgan for Giano. Thank you so much for coming in. And thank you again, Giano, for staying on. Where
Thank
are
you for having
you
me.
calling from? And what is your question, Morgan?
Yes, hello. So I'm actually in Arizona. I'm back home.
Oh,
I live in
hello.
Texas and I am home on vacation, but I wasn't planning on jumping on, but I really appreciate the conversation on violent crime. And I work in that space professionally in Texas. But one of my questions is how do we get the community to care, especially with juries, right, coming in to deal with violent crime when they are not personally affected by the offense?
Mm.
So what do we do to make them start caring? And I see that disconnect a lot.
You know what? That's an excellent question. And I know when we talk about violent crime, we more often talk about black on black crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime, etc. But when I wrote this book, The Day My Brother Was Murdered, My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis, I wanted people to have empathy for others. So I selected stories of all races. Catherine is a white woman. James is black. I got an infant in there. Her name is baby Cecilia. She was 5 months old, 4 days from her 6-month birthday in Chicago. when her parents, she was in the car with her parents, her baby brother, 3 years old, sitting next to her, parents up front. They thought they heard fireworks, but it ended up being the brother said she's bleeding
Oh
because she
my
was
God.
ended up getting shot in the head from the back
Oh.
seat of the car. So I wanted to ensure that we can have stories that people can connect with. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of times and more often than not, people say, you know what, that's those folks' problem.
Yep.
They live in the wrong neighborhood. They make the wrong amount of money. Or to Megan's earlier point, you know, if you can hire private security, then why do you care? Like, that's not like,
Yep.
what do I care about defunding the police? So it's really important for us to be able to establish these stories and let people know that it can happen to anyone. I never expected to be up here to say my brother was murdered. I never expected to be in front of the church on the day of his funeral talking to Lawrence Jones as we're about to bury my brother an hour later. I didn't expect that, but I knew it was necessary for me to be out there because the people who did it were still out there. So I needed to have those moments. And it's unfortunate, but I'm thankful that the Fox News audience has been extraordinarily supportive and more people can see that this can happen to anyone. Therefore, we all need to be vigilant. We all need to be speaking out against soft on crime policies and those politicians who choose to enact them.
Mhm. Morgan, would you like to ask any follow-up?
Anything else your institute is doing to reach out to the public in that way? I mean, the book, I'm excited to read it. I'll be buying that. But
Thank
anything
you so
else that
much.
your institute is going to be doing?
Yeah, so we're expanding out beyond the progressive prosecutors, or I call them political prosecutors. We're going into mayoral races, we're going into gubernatorial races. Please go to caldwellinstitute.org and support our efforts. We have a foundation as well. It's called the Caldwell Foundation for Public Safety. That's our 501c3, focusing more on programming in schools, talking about violent crime and how we can solve it, especially legislatively.
Thank you, Morgan. I hope you have a good time in Arizona.
Thank you.
I am.
Thank you.
You know, Gianna, what are Republicans doing right? What is Trump doing right? And what are people on the right and left doing wrong? And what would you say to President Trump if you were sitting in front of him right now?
Well, I think bringing in Pam Bondi was a very good choice.
She's
Somebody who,
incredible. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
she's stellar. She's stellar. So I think that was a really good start for him. And as you know, I've known Pam for a long time now. She joined us with the Institute. I was at her swearing in the Oval Office. That's a great job. I think bringing out the people who came into our country illegally and getting the criminals out first. I think that's excellent. I also think the fact that they're going to be withholding some of this money from sanctuary cities
Mhm.
is a good idea. And I would say that if these are areas, localities where they don't want to enforce the law as written, because that's when we talk about the solutions, it starts with that. What are the laws on the books about crime and safety? Enforce those, because places like Los Angeles, where we got involved in the George Gascon race, supporting Nathan Hochman, doing ad buys for him, all kinds of media for Nathan Hochman, and he won. Those were really good first steps, but we needed somebody that was more interested in enforcing the law to ensure that these things could not happen. Whereas George Gascon would not do that. He would not recommend enhancements for criminals, and enhancements in the state of California are for violent gang members, people with a history of violence. But you had a Mexican mafia member who premeditatedly murdered two people, including a teenager, and he didn't recommend enhancements for him to get more jail time. Or the person who killed the soap opera actor, I can't think of his name right now, but that was another case, violently murdered, no enhancement recommendation. We need people who
But
are going to say,
why? Like, what was their reasoning they give?
well, that's a great question, Megan. I wish I had the answer for you, but there
He
is
was just
there is no
incredibly
answer.
soft on crime. Like
Literally.
there
But
were liberals campaigning against Gascon for being taken out as DA. So
Miranda lives in
I
California.
live in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
nobody. He was like overwhelmingly not voted for
Yeah. But there was
re-election,
also two attempts to get him put out doing recall attempts,
hmm
and it didn't happen.
which is
So
crazy. Yeah.
it didn't happen. So there was always a chance that he could actually win. It's just there's been an uptick in crime in Los Angeles post George Floyd 2020. You still had Prop 47 in place at that particular point. There was a lot of things wrong in that moment, and thank God they chose a law and order candidate by the name of Nathan Hochman, who we proudly supported. So those things are, I think, extraordinarily important that we start enforcing the laws and ensuring that any soft on crime policy is repealed, because we have to have law and order in order to be a free society.
And the cops are
Mhm.
actually arresting people again. It's wild to see.
That's in there. Actually, those cases are actually being prosecuted versus
Mhm.
being dropped, or felonies being drawn down to misdemeanors. So those are all also important elements of it.
Gianna, when people from these communities that are, in the front lines of experiencing violence come to you, to come to your institute, help tell their stories in your book, um, what do they want people to know? What do they want, like, people like all across the country to understand? Because I have felt like it was just such an extreme tragedy that so many ignorant people the past 5 years have glorified violence in a way that I will never understand. Like you said, why don't you want to arrest criminals? I just, on a very basic level, it just seems insane to me. And again, the most vulnerable communities who cannot, afford the same kind of safety that everyone on this call can. I just don't understand it. What do they say to you? What do they want people to know?
They want people to know they need help,
Hmm.
and that elections have consequences, and so does policies. And the reason why I think a lot of this stuff has gotten out of control because they did it under the narrative that it was going to help Black people. Gavin Newsom is a very big example of that. Prop 47, when they put it on the ballot as an initiative to remove that. And for folks that don't know, this proposition, which was passed in 2014, reduced the penalties for certain criminal acts, many of them. So this proposition people thought was enough. We don't need to do this anymore. And what did Gavin Newsom say? Oh, well, this is going to hurt Black people if we repeal this. What? You mean
Hmm.
if it doesn't get repealed, that Black people are going to get hurt even more? Like you can't just throw out this rhetoric and just think because you're using Black people as your example or really your scapegoat in that moment that it's going to be just a-okay. And that's how you know this is a guy that doesn't deserve to be president. Even though I know that he's a gifted politician, Gavin Newsom is, but he's also, in my view, when it comes to the policy, nefarious for even thinking to say something like that.
Yeah. The other thing that I always find, so I was having a conversation, I'm with friends right now, and my friend is married to a Mexican man, and we were talking about just the way progressives talk to racial minorities. And he was telling me, like, you have no idea how dumb everyone I know in my family thought Latinx was. Like, I can't even express to you
I
how
keep hearing that.
stupid. Yeah, that
Yeah.
it would, and that like he found it insulting. And again, I'm relaying what he said to me. He's just one person, but like he likes machismo, culture and Hispanic culture, like it's Latino. So it's like sometimes I feel like there's just a bunch of like really wealthy white progressives like Gavin Newsom sitting in a room pretending that they understand what other cultures want. Or it's just bizarre to me. Um, your book, like you said, The Day My Brother Was Murdered, My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis, it just came out. We really implore everyone to go pick it up. I have already ordered it off
Thank
Amazon,
you.
Giano, and I'm so, like, I have known you a really long time. I am so impressed with your resilience, with how you've taken pain and turn it into something that is productive and helping people. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I've been through my own public grief, and I did not lose my dad in the way that you lost your brother. I really applaud the kind of inner fortitude and strength it would take to do interviews and write books and have an institute. Like, you are a very, very strong person. And I just want to tell you that I like applaud you and I respect you, and anything I can do to help your institute, please know I'm always here. And I'm just really like thrilled to have you on the show, and really um happy that you're doing so much in so many different ways, Giano. But I'm always praying for your family and I just always, I don't know why I always think about you in this situation. I think just because it's just such a horrific tragedy, and, we're all in the same community together. Is there anything we want to end on? It's like been a long conversation. I really appreciate you
Yeah.
spending the hour with us. Do you want people to know just again about your brother, who he was as a person, and your family, and what you want to have happen in your personal and professional life going forward?
Well, thank you for having me, Megan. I really appreciate it. A long admirer of yours, your dear friend. I'm really grateful for the time. And I got to tell you, I've been doing all this work because I felt like I had no choice. My brother's life was stolen from me, so I have to do something about it. And that's just the way my mind works. And there's so many other people, such a large community of people who've had the very same similar experience. And now I'm a part of a family that I would not have wanted to be a part of. But that's what it is, and therefore I need to make life better for other people. And that's what drives me. So I encourage people to go to caldwellinstitute.org and support our efforts with the Caldwell Institute. Go to caldwellsafety.org and support our efforts with the foundation, because we need your help. We're going up against some really big, powerful names like George Soros and others who chooses to put people in a situation where they're victims. And that's the unfortunate set of circumstances, but that is the reality. So I'm looking to change things there. And this is a big part of the guide. The day my brother was murdered, my journey through America's violent crime crisis. I hope everyone would get it. President Trump graciously endorsed the book this weekend, so I'm thankful for that. And I just want to see lives change, honestly, Megan.
Is there anything you could share about your brother, just personally, what kind of person he
Yeah,
was?
he was a good kid. Sports is what he was about. He loved sports. He joked a lot. When he was 16 years old, he begged me to take him on a college tour to UCLA, which we did. We went out there, did the tour. He was excited about his future, what it was going to look like post high school in Chicago. And those moments have been stolen. I would never see him get married. I would never see him have kids. And now that we're at this point, his life and legacy will be saving others. And it's an unfortunate reality, but that is the reality I think that at least he would be proud of.
Mm-hmm. Miranda, is there anything you would like to ask Giano before we say goodbye?
I just want to thank you, Giano, for sharing your story. This is an incredibly impactful situation that hits home for so many people that aren't able to articulate as well the same, like similar situations that have happened to them. So you are the voice and the mouthpiece for them as well. You speak for so many people, and I just want to thank you for being brave and being able to do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Miranda. Appreciate that.
And you can find Giano on social media on X and Instagram at Giano Caldwell. Please check out the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety and obviously pick up his new book, The Day My Brother Was Murdered, My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis. You can get it everywhere, right? Amazon, all the places.
Everywhere, Barnes and Nobles, Walmart, Target. And I'm on TikTok and Facebook as well.
You're on TikTok? I applaud you being on TikTok. TikTok's a tricky one.
I know it's funny because I don't use it as much as I should, but I've posted things on it and then open it up a month later and it's gone viral and I had no idea.
It's where the kids are. It's like a popular one.
Just your ways, yeah.
I applaud you being on TikTok, legitimately. Giano, thank you so much. Come back anytime, to talk about your book, or if you just want to do like more news of the day. And legitimately, if Mamdani becomes mayor of New York City, you are the first guest I want back on to talk about everything, okay? I mean, I'm going to probably, need some like reassuring that we're not just going into a hellscape. Because you and I still have to go to New York for work, by the way. Like, you work for Fox, you have to go in the studio. We can't avoid it.
Yeah, I'm there multiple times a month, yeah.
Yeah, you're there all the time. It's like you're going to have to deal with the ramifications of it no matter what, sadly. Anyway.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he doesn't win, but we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Giano.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day and come back
you as
anytime.
Well. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, please go pick up his book, The Day My Brother Was Murdered, My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis. And Miranda, we have like 2 more minutes left. And really quick, I just want to switch. He's incredible. And I have known Giano a very long time, and he's a really, really beloved person in media circles and just a really, obviously, wonderful person doing so much important work, and his political commentary is always very spot on. I always knew him just as an analyst before, obviously any of this, the tragedy happened. I just want to switch gears just really quick because we've been wanting to show this clip from America's Got Talent for a few days.
I'm so glad we're doing this.
A week. So if anyone knows, Miranda and I love reality television, and I was actually, if you guys know who this is, Tom Sandoval from Vanderpump Rules, I was actually Team Sandoval, which is a very unpopular take. He cheated on his girlfriend. It's an old scandal. And now he has decided that he is going to be a contestant on America's Got Talent. Number 10, please.
Well, years ago, I made some really bad choices and was involved in a very bad cheating scandal. And I let down a lot of people. And now you find yourself so bad to you. It pretty much destroyed my life. It was absurd how much coverage and how big it became. Ever since then, it's like everything that I do is completely criticized. I feel a lot of pressure I just hope the audience and the judges see who I am as a musician. Dude, Terry.
You ready?
I'm ready. Versus just somebody on a reality show.
Okay, they didn't show the clip of him singing,
Why
right?
did it freeze?
Is that frozen? Well, he sings and he's very good. Just
He's
to
so good. Why don't we have the singing part?
I'm so sorry. I thought we had the clip of him singing. Oh, you guys, we screwed this up for you. I'm so sorry.
Oh man.
All right, on Wednesday, I promise we'll get the
To
clip
be
of him singing.
continued.
To be
That's a
continued.
teaser.
We're giving it away. Look it up on YouTube. He nails it, and he's extremely talented. And I hope he goes far on America's Got Talent. And I don't
hope
care.
he wins it all.
I don't care how unpopular that makes Miranda and I, okay? I think we need to give this man a break, and everybody on those shows cheat on each other. And there's a certain point in time, I remember us having a conversation where I was like, I think people are trying to get him to kill himself. And I really
Yes.
need this man to, like, know that, like, things happen and he made a horrible mistake, but, like, he deserves,
I
to
think he
move
was
on with his
I
life.
think he was close to killing himself at one point, and it's like, you know what? He never hit anybody. All he did was cheat on a woman who, like, stopped having sex with him. Like, they weren't
Yes.
married. Like, they didn't. She stopped being intimate with him. She was like sleeping in another room. For all intents and purposes, they were broken up. So they just were sleeping in the same house. Like, they lived in the same house together. I don't get it. And plus, that woman was very rude to you personally.
She was very rude to me. So again, I'm team Tom Sandoval
Team Tom
forever.
Sandoval all day. And he was very, very kind to our booker when we
Yes.
asked for an interview.
So we just want to emphasize that Tom Sandoval, you are welcome to come on this show. Again, he very, very politely declined, and we sort of got the impression that he didn't want to talk about politics, and like he was like intimidated at the idea of talking about politics. We don't want to talk about
We don't want to
politics
talk
with you
politics.
either.
We want
just
to talk about
wanna
Bravo.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, I respectfully don't need to talk about the Mamdani mayoral race with you.
No.
But
I
again,
certainly don't. Yeah. I want
open
to talk about your
invitation.
life. Yes.
Open invitation to him if he wants to come on. Anything you want to say before we say goodbye, Miranda? I hope you're feeling better. She's a little under the weather.
No,
but
that's right.
rallied
Yeah,
today.
I did not talk much today because I don't feel well. I almost didn't do the show, but I came to
Thank
just
you.
sit here.
I
and
didn't
be
make her. I told her to stay in
No,
bed.
you told me to stay in bed. No, I came to sit and be support for you and just
Thank you.
sit like this.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. On that note, I will be back again, still in Arizona, in this beautiful studio,
Yay.
still in Arizona on Wednesday. Looking forward to another great show, and I'll still be in Arizona actually for a little bit, in this gorgeous studio. So thank you all so much for listening, clicking, liking, all the love. We really appreciate it. And like I said, we had a really big week for Citizen McCain last week, and we are
Yes.
just so happy that you guys are sharing and enjoying it. Really, it's like, anytime any of us go into non-corporate legacy media, you're taking a gamble, and to see so much, positivity coming out right now, we're really just so grateful. So thank
Yeah,
you
a
so
lot of-
much for watching and clicking and liking, and even the hate. That's okay. I think it's better to
Is
be
there hate?
hated than ignored.
I'm not seeing much hate, but
No,
I'm
actually,
also
yeah, there
not
has
looking
been.
for it.
Yes. All right. On that note, I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, and we'll see you back again Wednesday, same time, same place.